Welcome. We have another interesting build for you today, and it's unique on a couple of fronts. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to switch views. That looks good. Let's make this a little bigger, and let's actually make it even a little larger. Here we go. That didn't change much. That looks pretty good. Alright, so you can see everything nice, as well as we can in the circumstances. Okay, so this time around we are going to be working with a Neopixel. This I'll put it under here. This strand of LEDs. I noticed these some time ago. I can't remember exactly where, but they do a lot of really cool things you'll see in a minute. Now that'd be a really fun project. Now this is one of those projects that I went and bought a whole class set before I actually tried it out, and which already turned out fine. Well, we're going to do this, but turns out that the LEDs in strips are actually a little challenging. When we normally work with LEDs in class, they were quite easy to wire and so forth. But I'm going to show you how to get around those challenges, make it a little variation than what you're used to in the other videos. But let's go with the parts first. You'll need this. I did make some modifications, so be a little gentle here on the end. I had to do some soldering. These little wires were braided, so it's hard to get those into the breadboard, so I added this so they're solid and you can get those pressed into the breadboard a lot easier. Now if they break off or snap off or something, of course I can resolder them, but just be a little gentle with those. And of course, if I hold it up here, might be easier. It just unravels like that, but at the start, let's go ahead and leave it wound up until we get to the end. Alright, so we need that, and the next thing we need is, of course, some of the basic stuff, our breadboard, the Arduino, and we'll need a resistor. Oh, we can't see that anymore. Let's go up. Need a resistor somewhere between about 330 to 1,000. This one right here is about 1,000 ohms, but anywhere between 330 and about 1,000. I looked up some specifications for this, and there wasn't any ideal size of resistor to use. It's sort of a safety feature. Technically we don't need it, but we're trying to preserve. The first LED on this strip takes a beating when it gets a surge of current flowing through it. When we start this thing up, this very first one here can get destroyed. So as a precaution, we're going to be adding this resistor. Alright, and then of course in this case, a little battery with the adapter attached to it. Move this one out of the way. And a little power module. Looks like this. This is where our battery will be attached, and this will be pressed into our breadboard with these pins. Take particular notice right over here. I'll point this out later, but you have a positive and a negative, and on this side of positive and negative, we want to make sure we remember which pin goes into what rail on our breadboard. If we press it in like this, then I'm saying at the positive. This is going to, this part, let me step back a minute here. This part right here, this power module, is going to deliver some extra power that our Arduino can't provide, or it'll struggle to provide. You can probably get it to run even without this, but you're going to be, putting a little more stress on our Arduino. So, and it's cool to use different parts, I think. Why not? Saves our Arduino a little bit. Adding the resistor saves that first LED. adds to the wiring a little bit. You get to learn a little more. So back to where I left off, we have this positive, negative. If I press it in just like I did here, then the positive that's delivered by this power module is going to be the blue, which is normally where we put ground, and the other side is going to be negative. And if we use this side, then it's the same case. The negative side coming off of here is going to be the positive. They're reversed, is what I'm getting at. So we have to be mindful of that. If I flip this around and we do it again, press it in here, now the positive is the positive side of our rail, and the negative matches up. So if I'm using this, it really helps to match it up, the positive with the positive, so I don't want to get those backwards, have a little short circuit or something. Okay, so again, we'll come back to that. And there's another little part here, this little capacitor we're going to use to again, more safety, not for us particularly, but for the parts we're using. In this case, we haven't actually used a capacitor yet, so I should probably say something about it. They are, in its simplest definition, you could probably say it's like a little battery, a little device that stores charge. Stores it a little differently than a battery does. Battery does chemical storage. This is imagine a little bit of aluminum foil that's been wrapped in a coil, wrapped up with some insulator in between. We're storing charge on that wrapped up metal, and this allows us to deliver charge if we ever detect that we might not have enough, or we're trying to keep the flow nice and smooth. Sometimes I like to think of this as being a little water tower. If you use current as a water metaphor, you know, electrons flowing through a wire like water flowing through a pipe. This is kind of like a little water tower. It even stands in the circuit, often like a little water tower. Sits there. You can imagine it full of water. And then if our flow through our wires is low, this thing can drain some of its charge, keep things nice and smooth, get rid of some noise, and it has various functions. But anyway, the size is 1,000 picofarads, which you can just read off the side. Can't read them with these glasses on, but is that what I got here? 1,000, yes. You can just read it right off the side. One more thing to point out is on the capacitor, you'll see a little strip right here, and it's got the negative symbols on there heading to this wire. So that's going to tell us that we have to worry about how we put the part in. We got to make sure this wire goes to the heads to ground, and the other side, which is not labeled, is going to go to the positive side of our battery, and that's also indicated on the length of the wires coming out of the capacitor. We got a long one and a short one, but I usually ignore those because this is beautifully marked, nice and big, and we'll make sure we get this part in properly. Alright, so those are all the parts. Of course, we have a bunch of wires. I'm actually going to flip views just for a minute and take you to the Canvas project page. And we jump down. Here it is, the Neopixel. Won't look exactly like this when you open it up because this is not published and whatnot. But here's our part list, minus that part, which is actually attached right here. This piece is right here. I wanted to throw this up while I was wiring so you could kind of look at both. Look at this, plus look and see what I'm doing down here. Now this is just slight subtle differences. I actually Googled this and online. Here we have not a normal Arduino, this is a Nano, a tiny version of it, but that's okay. And this part here, we're going to use a full power module, because we don't have any of these, so we're going to use that, and that'll be just fine. Okay, so we're going to wire this up, and then we'll take a look at the code. So let's go back and attach this part first. I'm going to make sure the positive on this side matches the positive rail, so I can, anywhere up here, if I go too far back, it'll kind of fall off. So I'm going to go up just a little further, like there. There's plenty of room to build on. So that'll work. I have my battery plugged in at the moment. Probably not a good idea. Generally, you should do all your wiring first and then plug that in, but before I do that, just want to make sure this thing works. Push that button, light goes on. Alright, now we got a source of some extra power. Oh, one more thing I should point out. Glad I remembered this. This could be a problem. Hard to describe though. It's kind of tiny. There's a little jumper right here. I'm going to pull it out and hold it in my hand. This little piece of metal here. This is called a jumper. And I don't know where this is going to be on your little power module, but we got some choices. You'll notice there's one on this side as well. This thing can deliver 5 volts and 3.3 volts. And we got some choices putting, depending on what we want, we need to put this jumper on different pins. We want maximum output here, so we want the 5 volts. You can barely see it there. And we're going to put the jumper like that. Okay. Now it was already on there like that, but you may have it over here on the 3.3, and then we're not going to get enough juice. We might as well just use the Arduino. So let's flip that over. Same thing for this other side. I'm not going to use this rail though. We're going to use these. And you may have also noticed that we have a capacitor right here. Alright, so I'm going to turn that back off and unplug this. Push that in there a little bit. Alright. And let's go ahead and hook up our... Now let's do the ground stuff last. That's the easiest stuff. Let's go ahead and work on this stuff that's a little more complicated that we got to make sure we get it just right. Going back to here, and I've got my I got 4 wires coming out of this. I've got 2 black ones, and those are going to be ground wires. And this is going to be, we got to go to our power supply, and this white one is our signal wire. I'm going to start with that one. So I'm going to use this yellow wire. I like using yellow for my signal wires. I don't know if anybody else does, but that's just what I like to use. I've always just kind of used yellow. And I'm going to actually use the pin that we've got up here on our screen for the wiring, in case you are looking up here and following along. And it should be pin 6, but it doesn't look like pin 6. It's so tiny. I'm going to peek down at the code. Pin 6. So I'm not sure if that actually says 6. This is way too tiny. We're going to use 6. So we want to make sure, this is the most important part. Well, we need to know what pin we're using, of course. I'm going to use pin 6. That's what I have in my code. But we're going to draw a wire out of that, pin 6, and we're going to run that through our resistor. So we're going to have a signal come out here, go through our resistor, and then head to the lights. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to pick, let's just stab it in right there. And take our resistor. These, they don't care which way they go in. And we're going to go across. Nope, you know what I should have done? I should have put this over here and head towards the Arduino. Okay, so here we're coming from our Neopixel strip, and draw a board across through the resistor, and now I've got to complete the other side, and we're going to go into pin 6. Ooh, what happened there? Little malfunction on my wire there. That black little guard on the top there just fell off, or just slid. Alright, we recovered. And then this one we're going to press into pin 6 over there like that. Move this aside a little bit so you can get a good view of that. Nice and easy, right? The rest is just ground wires and delivering some power. So that wasn't that big a deal. We do got to make sure our capacitor is there. So I'm going to move him out here so I can remember to put that in there. So I'm just going to grab a ground. Actually, start with the Arduino and move our way over to here. We have to take the ground wire here and make, just like we've done in others, I'm going to make this rail down here become a ground rail. So I'm going to press that in there like that somewhere. Like that, going to the ground on our Arduino. And then I'm going to, out of wires, here's a red one. Let's do the same thing with the 5 volt. We're going to move it over here into the red side, like that. Basically, I am looking at our image here. I've just connected this one and this one. These two. Ultimately, we're going to untether ourselves from the computer after we load the program, which is the other reason why we wanted an external source of power, which of course we could actually just plug directly into our Arduino. It has a spot right here to plug in our battery. But why pass up an opportunity to use a power module, right? Okay, let's go down like this. And let's not forget our capacitor. We got to make sure we're mindful of the, let's go down here so we can see a little better. Make sure we're mindful of the negative side. And we got to make sure that leg, the short leg, goes into the negative side of our rail right here. So I'm going to press that in anywhere along here. Will work just fine. Bend it back a little bit. Oh, you can't even see any of that. There you go. So I can put in there. We're up closer. I'm going to put it way down here. My little water tower. Alright, that looks good. And that's the part right here we just put in. Next, let's go ahead and finish this off by taking the ground on our Neopixel and put that into the negative side. And we'll do the positive side on the positive side here. And we are done. So that wasn't too bad, right? Or I'll see if I can get this into view too. I've just taken the wires from Neopixel, the positive and negative ones, put them into the rail. And this is our one going to pin 6. We'll get that out of the way here. Kind of a big build right here. It's hard to show you every little thing on this one. That's why I thought it'd be a little better to have this image up here. Make it a little more easier to see. Alright. Then let's not even plug this thing in yet. I'm looking at my battery. Let's not plug that in yet. Let's just have it resting to the side here. We'll get to that. Let's go ahead and add some code to our Arduino board and see if we can get this thing to light up and do something interesting. Now,
Mrs. Dominici, please contact the office. Mrs. Dominici.
There's some announcements there. So this is where we're going to make another little change. I mentioned that when I bought these, I bought them as a set, and usually I'm really smart and I just buy one and I toy around with it. And I go, oh wow, this is way too complicated. We're not going to be able to do that. Or oh, this is really cool. Or this is too boring or whatever, right? This time around, I jumped in and thought, man, this is kind of cool. These strips do a lot of fun things. And then I start looking into how to program this, what's involved in the wiring and so forth. And then the code is like, wow, that's pretty tough. That is pretty tough code for just LEDs. I wasn't expecting that. So we're going to do something we normally don't do. And we're going to do a little copy paste. I hope you're okay with that. What I did is I have a big chunk of code, which is like a giant mess. I didn't want you to just throw that in there and look at the LEDs and go, ooh, that's cool. I wanted to break it down to some digestible pieces, and then we put all the pieces together to that one cool effect. So what I have down here is some sample code, and this does one thing, one simple thing. a decent amount of code to do one thing, at least relative to what we're used to. And then I have another little piece that does something different. And then I got a little a combo of a bunch of different things. So let's go ahead and do what we've never done before. Grab and copy paste, Control C. I feel almost a little naughty doing that, copying and pasting stuff, but I think it'll be okay for one project, right? Alright, let's just go through it just maybe just a tad. I won't go through everything. We've got a library we're using, and down here we define pin 6. We could, for our little signal wire coming from or going to our Neopixel strip, we could change that to wherever we want, but I've got pin 6 there. And we could insert that in as pin 6 as well, but I didn't. And then in our setup, we're going to start everything up. We've seen that begin and a little brightness. Have everything turned off, and so then we go jump into our loop. And this first little example, it'll be a simple display, and we've got something we have. I don't know if I've seen this before or not. I can't remember if I showed you. We're used to just using void loops, but you can actually make your own and call them up. In this case, the void color wipe, and have a couple parameters in here. But we've done so many projects, I can't remember exactly everything I've shown you. So let's not overly worry about a lot of the details here. That looks pretty good. And let me plug some stuff in. Hook this up. Oop, wrong one. Here we go. Let's do a little upload. Wow, we don't write any code on this one. That's kind of cool. Why not? Just waiting here, right behind my head, waiting for the okay that we're done. Moves through my ear there. Goes off to the side. You can do it. Don't have much choice here but to wait. Now with being plugged in here with this USB into the computer, we're going to be drawing 5 volts from the computer, and I'd ultimately like to just use this. In fact, what I think I'll do is unplug this, because now our program is on the Arduino, and we'll hook our battery up to this, and then I'll change views, and I'll just hold up what I've got, and we'll compare it with, you can compare that with what you are seeing. So let's go ahead and do that. Everything was uploaded properly. Unplug this. Plug this into my power module. I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to switch views. And I'm going to just hold up mine and do it a little bit. Whoop, it was on. Okay, there we go. I probably won't see it very well because it's so bright where I'm at, but we're blue. We got running colors going down the strip, and hopefully yours is doing the same, changing through the RGB colors, red, green, blue, one at a time, and then in between the last one it's going blank, turning it all off. If you would like to toy around, let's go back to the previous view. Not that one, not that one, that one. If you like to change some of these colors, the 25500 is the red color. We did some RGB LED work, and you may recall that we had to have 3 values to for the red, the green, and the blue. Here we're turning off the green and the blue with 00 and just having red. You're more than welcome to. I highly encourage you to change these numbers around. And I don't know if I showed you this or not, but you can actually go online, and if you want a certain color, say yellow, let's go ahead and take a peek at that. Online, without my email. Let's go here and do a quick search. RGB. First thing pops up is table. Let's take a look. Looks like I've been here before. And so if we wanted just, I'm trying to get it way up in the corner, just red, it'd be 255. We have 9 and 9, but if I get way in the corner, it'd be 0, 0. So that's what we have in our, I don't know if that's where I was, that's not where I was. So we have 255, 0, and 0. 255 is the maximum you can do. And then, of course, 0 for green, 0 for blue. So I challenge you if you would like to change these around, you know, try putting 100, 100, 100 or something like that. So if I wanted yellow, actually I like this down here a little better. If I wanted yellow, I need 255. Once I move my cursor off, the numbers go away. But if I want 255, if I wanted yellow, I put in 255, 255, and 51. So let's go back. I put 255, 55, and 51. Two 255, 51. So 255, 255, 51. That's what we want. So change these around a little bit, and we can get some different colors on this. Okay, so let's go to the pause if you want to do that. Let's go to the next piece. I'm actually just going to strip all this out of here. And back to this page. There's a lot of variety of these. I kind of like that one down there. This one over here is the next little piece. All the way down to here. We do a little copy paste. Enter that in here. Look it over briefly. Make sure I didn't have pieces of something left in there. That looks pretty good. Startup's the same. And you'll see some areas in here where we can make some color modifications. These are going to be some crawling lights that you'd see in a movie theater. You'll see some stuff we've used before. Ways, our little counting mechanisms in the 4s here, and so forth. Let's go give that a try. I'm going to need to unplug this and hook back up to the computer. Alrighty. Let's upload this just as is. You'll see how this compares to the last one. Uploading. Done uploading, and Shazam, this looks pretty cool. Switch back so you can kind of compare what I see with what you see. Although mine is not as interesting to see on the video. Okay, but pretty cool. This time around, let's not switch the battery out. We can see that will allow us to be, move this to a tree or something or wherever we wanted and untether ourselves from the computer. Let's go ahead and do the full effect. And so we've seen that one. And of course, you always pause if you'd like. In fact, a few places, this might be helpful to you. A few places, if you want to change, would be some of these numbers right here. This will change some of our colors. And right here, you could change our counts, go from 10 to higher. You could these two numbers right here you could change. And perhaps you could even try, instead of plus plus, that translates into j equals j plus 1. You could do j equals j plus 2, j equals j plus 5, or whatever. See what that does. The rest I wouldn't mess around with. I'd just leave it. But I'll leave it up to you. You can't really hurt anything, right? So let's go back and grab the other piece here. Now, for full disclosure, I did not write this code myself. The other code that you see for all the other projects I wrote myself. I did not write this beast here. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. And what did I do? I hit the wrong key on my keyboard. My finger wasn't stretched over far enough. Alright, this is a beast. Let's go ahead and upload it. Who knew that LEDs would require all of this code to cycle the information down from one LED to the next. Okay, it's done. Alright, so now it's basically taken the pieces that I've carved off and combined them all, plus a few more little tricks. So we have to kind of let it go through its entire cycle here. You can just watch it and enjoy, which is pretty cool. Anyway, that's about it for this lesson. Again, I think I'll do one last thing here, which would be to untether myself from the computer. Since we've loaded the code down, I don't have to be trapped in the corner anymore. I can plug this in right there, which is really nice. Can't see my LEDs unless I hold it up, but everything's flashing really well. Lots of different patterns going on. So that's pretty cool. We have a little safety resistor in here, and the same thing for our capacitor, so we don't damage anything. Technically we could remove those, and we could probably I even saw somebody online who just went straight from the Arduino right into here, but in the few areas I looked at, it says don't do that, because that first LED you'll destroy it. Do these other couple of cautionary things. So, alright, that was a fun one. Better to even have this in the dark. Turn the lights out and take a look at it. So, alright, I'm going to end the recording there. That was a fun one. And very interesting result. We're going to go on to some more builds later, so enjoy.